I finished my master's in intercountry adoption law. It's really important to know all of the parties that were involved with this because we have adoptees who were placed by 1952 Seoul Sanitarium, 800 adoptees by the Pearl Buck. We have a number of adoptees going before even Tobias was able to track in Australia 2 years before through Australian records. All of those adoptees, if we don't have the centralized records, they don't count for services. They don't count for protection.
With the first KoRoot orphan adoption law, has never had the input or involvement or comments from overseas adoptees. It's been exclusively modeled or shaped by adoption agencies as the biggest stakeholder in adoption. So I think for adoptees suddenly to come here to be part of the political system was quite amazing.
In general, as you know, all the special adoption law is a law, but the whole the practice is fully given to adoption agencies. All the adoption procedure A to Z is in hand of adoption agencies. That is the law.
You know, there's research that in the 1980s, only 5% of single mothers were keeping their children. By 2009, it was 64.5%. You know, I think when we're in this kind of space, we sometimes acknowledge those who come before us. And I think in some other spaces, maybe our ancestors. And I'm somebody, I don't know where I'm directly descended from. And but I do want to say that I think I have been permanent residence here for 10 years. And I'm ceaselessly indebted to folks like Kimura Buell, Lemoyne, and Kate Herzri, adoptees who worked very hard for the F4 visa and made it really possible for those of us who are adoptees sitting here talking about the SAL for us to actually organize here in Korea.
The people come to KoRoot. Actually, Jane is the returning adoptees. We tried actually to raise the issue of adoptees' human right. Then our records are falsified, or we were orphaned, although we are not orphaned. That's why we brought these issues to the 국민권익위원회. But they failed. Jane is saying we failed.
And that had been a 2-3 long process with adoptees having bi-weekly meetings to literally write it out. A group of adoptees and lawyers and other experts on adoption. I was part of the very, very early part before it kind of became the 2 weekly meetings, mostly because I chose to focus on my studies at that time.
It means the protecting mother's right and protecting child right. And the single parent supporting act mainly initiated by unwed mother's voice. And the special adoption law revision initiate especially by returning adoptees. Probably people are asking what has been changed in the law.
So there were different things in this adoption law. One of them was out right now for information, not to confuse with birth family search, because you can't just want the information without being that interested in mom and dad. But that was definitely one of the big points.
Single parent support law. And we put one lines, adoption agency may not run unwed mother center. First time ever, Korean public power is jumping into the procedure of adoption. That is family court sentence.
But it was really like a historical achievement because this registration system to a permission system. So rather than the adoption agencies just telling the local authorities and the ministry at the end of the year, this is how many adoptions we had, each adoption actually now after that would have to go through the family court, who would then check the whole process, check all the documents. And so when they started doing that, they found out that with all the adoptions, the law has not been followed. So one example, very much, that vast majority of the children filtered into the adoption system has not been birth registered. So obviously without being birth registered, you don't have a legal identity. It means that the child really does not exist. It has no rights. So the family court demanded simply that the child welfare institutions, the adoption agencies, they should follow existing Korean law. That became a huge point of debate where adoption agencies had tried to argue that the adoption law in itself led to more abandonment. Another important thing was that adoption agencies from 2015 have not been allowed to run unwed mothers' homes because clearly there is a huge conflict of interest. Like with, I think for domestic adoption, 88% of the children in recent years that come from unwed mothers. I mean, it's been from 90% to 99 or 100% as for the most recent years. So for adoption agencies to have homes, maternity homes for unwed mothers, it would basically be a feeder channel of accommodating the women and then taking the children and channeling the children into the next step of their business. What the special adoption law did was it included a mechanism to see if other laws were followed. And so because, the family court find out that they're not followed, of course they are going to tell the involved parties that they have to follow the law. So that was quite important. So all children now who goes for adoption, have been birth registered. Also a step in preserving our information. Now, adoption agencies, they do try to follow the law, and so they only give us information that they are required to. I think we've seen in many cases before that, it was just the wild, wild west. So if you were lucky, then you would get a huge map of just everything, details with your background. If you were unlucky or the social worker had a really bad day or didn't like you for some reason, then you would get nothing. So at least now we have some kind of standard, which is important. We have to notice that this has taken like 60, 70 years.
This reform bill, I think 2017, 2019 was the last bill effort that I was really actively a part of. We did a survey of 500 adoptees. We did get another just single article amendment in the meantime, not comprehensive, but it's 8% of adoptees we can't verify that have finalizations. 1 in 5 adoptees that were surveyed have ongoing adoption paperwork needs, maybe to process for F4 visas or dual citizenship. We had 104 adoptees out of those 500 who required still adjustment of status. There's an incredible crime, I think, in terms of the number of adoptees who have not been able to return to Korea for a visit yet, right? Who have not been able to organize here, on this land. And I think, there's ongoing need about that. So I would really like to see more done about expansion of records access and the scope of the records preserved, because frankly, we're facing things as adoptees. We know from our perspectives that as great as our allies are, they don't live the reality of that. And, when we're 65 or 85, do we have, or, some of us already know we've had adoptee spouses who've passed away. We don't know if they have the right to die here, right? We don't know about, about our aging rights here. Dual citizenship is not actually full and complete citizenship for adoptees who have Korean citizenship now. So, and even I think what I want to say is we got Article 25 a couple of years ago, which was, it states that support must be provided for those who've not obtained nationality in the adopted country to live in Korea. Even things like this are so, so important. All to say that I'd like to see a lot more. I think it's going to take a lot more, and it's going to take all different kinds of forms. Because I was adopted when I was 3 years old. And so for me, I had memories of children from my orphanage. And I think for me, it's not just about birth family reunion, but it's also what happened to everybody else.